my view, often the internal meetings, we do a mix-up of both the exploratory topic and the exploitation topic. I think you should separate out the meetings where you're thinking about today versus thinking about the future. You can't expect someone to switch from this to that.
You've had a fascinating journey of over 4 decades and almost building an institution, what we typically call what it takes to build enduring institutions. And before I get into specifics, let's say for founders, who are building their organization, if they're building for the long term, there is this pressure that many of them would be under to deliver in the short term, and especially with changes that are becoming much more faster, some stuff that we were discussing just earlier. What is your how has your thinking evolved? That how does a organization think for the long term? One is that, and the second is, while you have the pressure of short term deliverables in that phase, how do you hold the organization steady?
Correct, yeah. So I think there are two, I always call this as, in many ways, I look at many of what a leader has to do in two modes. So you are in the short-term mode where you have to deliver your
Yes.
results
Yes.
and be expected to beat your shareholders'
Yes.
requirements and
Yes.
things like that. Typically in the short term, it's the shareholders and customers and employees that you really have to take care. But while doing that, the job of a leader, the top leaders of the company, the CEOs and the CXOs, is also to look at what's happening over a period of time. What is it that's going to change 3 or 5 years from now? What are the set of things that I have to do today? Seed the ideas today to be able to do that. So this bimodal thinking is very crucial in CEOs and CXOs. So in organization, it is really two ways. One is, how do I make sure that I exploit my current set of businesses, practices, talent? How do I exploit to deliver efficiently the results for the organization? Because if you don't do that,
Yeah.
you are
Won't
not
survive.
going to be
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
for the next phase.
Yeah.
But while doing that, what do I do to explore? What are the set of exploratory work that I have to do for the future?
Yeah.
And I think this explore and exploit, that bimodal thing, is very crucial for CEOs and CXOs. Because, and the job of a CEO is like, you are actually the membrane that connects the organization which is internally with the external world.
Yeah.
This membrane is two-way. You let the outside ideas
Flow in.
flow in. You also make sure that this company reaches out externally. So it's a two-way membrane. So you are that. That means you look at the outside ideas. Hey, I'm seeing digital transformation taking place. How ready are we? Our competitors are not doing it. Our industry is not ahead. Can I be ahead? And what do? I have to put a small team which works on that exploration part. And then simultaneously you have to say, look, this year there is war going on everywhere. There is a sense of consumer confidence is low. I have to be very tight on managing costs. I have to be extremely tight on efficiencies. I have to manage that. I think this bimodal mindset is very crucial for CEOs and CXOs.
Yeah.
And how does the organization allow this to happen
Yeah.
will determine whether the company is very successful or it struggles.
Santhanam, its impact on two areas. I'm going back to my prior operating experiences. A great point that you make, that an individual needs to think in that modal way. How you end up communicating that also becomes important, because you're almost communicating two different things.
Correct.
Almost in the same
Correct.
day. It's almost like you're schizophrenic, that you're talking about two different things opposing, again, going back to your thought of holding
Yeah.
opposing thoughts. So for the organization to be able to understand that they are two different things that needs to be done simultaneously. And what has been your experience from a talent standpoint? The explore, it's a brilliant way of differentiating, first of all. Do you keep separate teams, like
Yeah.
mindset, teams, capability? How
So
do you
there are
say?
two things. One is a fairly simple tool. When you're reviewing the month or the quarter,
Yeah,
you are never going to be talking about exploratory topics. Because
interesting.
there you're really looking at what's my revenue this month, next
Yeah,
month,
yeah,
how is my efficiency, are my lines delivering, how is
yeah,
the supply chain, can I look at reducing the cost for this particular quarter? You're not in an exploratory mode, you're in a very strong review mode. My view, often the internal meetings, we do a mix up of both the exploratory topic and the exploitation topic. I think you should separate out the meetings where you're thinking about today versus thinking about the future. You can't expect someone to switch from this to that. There are a
to,
few people who can do. You'll
but
confuse the
mostly
organization.
people
Yeah,
will struggle with it.
and you'll confuse the organization. This
Yeah,
guy, what is this guy? Once he's dreaming, and now I'm struggling with this today. He's asking me to struggle
yeah,
today and dream for the future. I don't think anyone will be able to cope with that.
yeah,
Second one is, if it's a very big exploratory topic, it's
yeah,
not an extension, it's not an adjacency for you, then you'll have to separate out the organization. You have to insulate that exploratory organization from the challenges that
yeah.
an, that the exploiting team will have,
It's,
which is really looking at every day. I have
yeah,
to make sure that I deliver results every day.
yeah,
So therefore, you separate out this organization. I think there are several people who have talked about it. You had Vijay Govindarajan talk about of the Tuck School. He talks about three-box theory, three-box approach. And there are people who talk about explore and exploit as different ways of handling, growth, innovation, one part, and efficiency part. I think it's very important. And for a CEO, also, you have to know which talent is capable of exploitation, which
yeah,
talent is an exploration talent.
yeah.
I think across your CEOs, CXOs, say N minus one, N minus two, you'll find some people naturally are good at
One of the two.
controlling, and some people are good at
Explore.
expansion. So you have to separate it out, and you have to put the team carefully together and say you do that. And it's when you mix up these two, you have confusion and a lack of alignment, and you're confusing people. Hey, what is he wanting? Does he want? Does she want
Yeah, 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 yeah.
today's thing, or does she is dreaming about
Yeah,
the future?
yeah.
So,
And over a period of time, if you're not able to provide clarity and a structure to it, it just creates total
correct.
chaos.
Yeah.
The confidence in the leader goes away, while logically it is the right thing to do.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it is
Correct.
important to
Yeah.
sort of, yeah, no, that's segues naturally into, let's say, if I go to Sagoba and the journey, what the investments look like, about 12,000 crores over, many, many years, 33 locations, 33. When you, let's say, did the first, investment, before you did the second, each one, you've talked about previously that each one was independent decision-making
Correct.
process. What was that process? How did you determine that, no, I need to hold back before I can commit to more investment?
Basically, we were very clear that when we entered glass, which
Yeah.
is where out of the 12,000 crores, probably two-thirds of that went into glass. And it was something which I was intimately associated with for the first 20 years of the Saint-Gobain. The last 5 years I've been associated with several countries and also several businesses.
Yeah.
We were one of the 6 people and the last entrant in a crowded market where everyone was making losses.
Yeah.
So if you want to break out of that, we have to figure out a way to break out of this potential trap where you're one of the 6 struggling, and as the industry grows. So we were very, very clear that the next set of expansion that we have to do, as the industry moves from a mode where it has excess capacity. As the market grows, at some point in time you'll need new capacities. We said that we have to be the next capacity. We can't let the other 5 incumbents have the next investment. So we were looking for scale even as we were surviving the initial periods of entry.
Understood.
And I think that, because normally what happens is every cycle is 6-7 years.
Yes.
And somewhere in the middle of the cycle, you have to think about when the cycle is up. So invariably we look at expansion when the cycle is up and it starts to
Taper down.
So counterintuitively what we did is we entered in 2000 in glass. In 2002, when we are still coming out of a challenging period, we said that the next investment cannot be by one of the other 5, it has to be by the 6th entrant. And then we took that bold bet that we have to make that. Sometimes luck favors you, chance favors those who are prepared. There was not an immediate Me Too investment by other players in the industry. That's a bit of a chance because you can't really control what others can do.
Yeah.
So that scale and speed, we were able to do that, and we repeated that. So whenever I look at today, when I visit a country, when I was part of Saint-Gobain, I always ask them saying, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, let's assume that you do it successfully, what would you be wanting to do?
Yeah.
And at that time, they will be come up and saying, because they're not clouded by the current problems.
Yeah.
They're not clouded by the current challenges that they're facing.
Yeah.
They may be behind budget, they may be doing all of that. But let's say that you cross all of that hurdle. 5 years from now, what must be something that you think is important for us to be very successful? I think that opens their mind. You remove the cobwebs of today and you look at the future.
Yeah.
I think that is when scale, speed are very crucial. Now, the question would be, you should not confuse those who are working at today and say that, look, this is not important for you, let's look at only future, scale and other things.
And that's where the distinction of explore and exploit.
And in some of these cases, the scale, maybe you may be using the same people because you're building up another big investment which is leading to the growth in your existing businesses. But it's very important for you to recognize when to do that. I would say that counterintuitively start thinking about growth when you're in the middle of your cycle. If you have a middle of a long cycle, say 7 years, 6 years, 5, 7 years, that's when I think, I'm talking about established industries, should look at when there is an upswing, and then there is a period where there is rapid growth, and then there is a certain slowing down taking place. What should I do today in order that I'll be able to capture that rapid pace of growth? So that, I think that means you'll have to be counterintuitively, you have to do it in the middle of the low point in your cycle.
Yeah, amazing.
We have done that repeatedly in many places. And that's where I believe that for much of the industries, even though it is not directly relevant in some of the new age industries, much of the industries, this Porter's 5 forces strategic framework, what he talked about in 1979, it is still relevant. It's competitive intensity. Where is the buyer's power? Where is the supplier's power? Who are the new entrants who can come in, who can disrupt this whole industry? If you look at it that way, many of our industries, we can classify it in this and then decide what to do. The time in which you have to act may differ from industry to industry, depending upon that unique industry, but it's really valid. And I think you have a very good example of a company which is known, let's say, in the automotive industry today. Both the Tata Motors and the Mahindras have actually done what the global majors have not been able to do that. So they've realized that they have to up their game on quality, they have to up their game on engines, they have to up their game on core IC engine. But they also realize that I'm going to look at EV, and at some point in time, so they were ahead of the curve. And today, a large number of the global players are trying to do a okay, we also want to be in the EV. I mean, today you have even Toyota, which has always been very reluctant about an EV, talking about a Lexus EV
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's very important. So in even in an industry like that, the Porter's five forces.
Yeah.
Because what will disrupt the
Yeah.
incumbent?
Yeah.
Can I be ahead on that disruption?
Yeah.
Will be useful.
And as you explained this, maybe in the same framework, the other question that once in a while I get from, again, founders, and this reference is very interesting. The previous podcast I was with Chandu Bhai Virani,
Okay.
the guy who built Balaji wafers. And
Okay.
as we were going through this conversation, he says that, look, I've done chips for 53 years. So the machines speak to me. Like, the engineers today or whoever is manning the shop floor would need to figure out, what's wrong, what's right. But for me, because I've done it long enough, I'm able to figure out by the noise as to whether it is running properly or not. Where I'm going with this is, if you could just talk a little bit about what's a great way to think about diversification, that you continue to grow in these investments you make in the business that you're good at, or at how do you distinguish between, I got to go into my diversified second business, because a lot of the founders would be interested in knowing that, and would be grappling with that all the time, that is it time for me to take the leap and go into my second adjacent business, or slightly, how does one think about that?
I mean, I don't think I have enough competence to answer that, but I'll give you my point of view.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who's listening to you must adopt this to their own context.
Yeah.
So we all develop deep capability, talent pool, capabilities in a particular industry. So what I would look for is, I have talent, I have competence which I have developed, I have systems and processes, and I have certain understanding and insight about some area.
Yeah.
I would say that given this, I would apply it to a very analogous industry, and I would not step out. I would not say that I'm going to do a conglomerate diversification. In which case, then I'll have to rather set up a completely different company and look at it very differently. It's a portfolio management.
Yeah.
I would still look at it as, which are all the kind of adjacencies and industries where something I can transfer my capabilities, be it in brand, be it on distribution, be it on talent, be it on process, know-how and technology. Can I? I think if you're able to find that this set of capabilities that you have, you can transfer it to a related industry, I think we should move that very quickly.
Interesting.
While doing it, be very careful. As individuals, we somehow overvalue synergy. We believe synergy is very easy. Synergy is extremely difficult, and it's not exactly easy. For instance, the Germans are fantastically successful in IC engines.
Yep.
They have the best of the technologies.
Yeah.
But the German car industry is struggling because it did not see the disruption that the EVs will cause.
Yeah.
And now they are catching up.
Yeah.
So for that, if you are a German industry, you can't have the guy who's running the IC engines look at EV.
Yeah.
Although they felt that it is possible.
Yeah.
Even now, today you buy a Mercedes-Benz, that EQV S-Class. It's basically not designed as an EV car.
Yeah, it's not ground up EV.
It's not ground up EV. It's a very high quality car with all the comfort that a Mercedes gives.
Yeah.
But it's not designed with EV powertrain in mind.
Yeah.
So I think that is where the challenge lies, that when you move from another, something looks very similar, you believe that there's a lot of synergy in it, you suddenly discover that the synergy is much more difficult to achieve. So I want us to be watchful about the synergy myopia.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody thinks that it's easy to translate, and sometimes it's not a thing. And then if you're going into a completely different industry, then I would say separate out the organization.
Sure.
Don't try to combine these organizations.
Got it. Two other frameworks this time that I'd like you to just go one level deeper is many of us would have come across the McKinsey 7S, and you have talked about using it in a very, very important way. So one, on the 7S, I was more keen to understand how did you operationalize that from a review, control, governance team, and there are 7 S's to manage. How
Correct,
did you
yeah.
concurrently do that? And then you have also talked about the drunkard's way of leadership, the whole 9I piece,
Sure.
and its relevance. Those are the
I'll
two frameworks.
talk about
that-
this a little bit.
Yes.
So the 7S framework was probably introduced by Tom Peters, and I don't remember the second guy. It was at In Search of Excellence. It was an iconic book
Yeah.
in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe sometime in the 80s the 7S framework was introduced. I had read about that, but I never really had a great opportunity to use that. When I started this company, I realized that I need a certain clarifying framework. While many of these things were in my mind, if I have to communicate with the teams, I need a window through which I'm speaking. I'm speaking the strategy window. And we take, for example, we came into an industry where glass was a commodity. There were already 5 players, two multinationals and 3 Indians, and they viewed glass as a commodity. Now, the strategic pillar that we looked at is, let's not view glass as a commodity. Can we differentiate in this commodity? So we really looked for sources of differentiation. So the strategy pillar told us that, look, if you continue to do exactly what your competitors have done, even if you do it more efficiently, you're going to go get the same result.
Yeah.
Can we look at the sources of differentiation?
Yeah.
Once you tell your teams, I want you to find a source of differentiation, so they come up with, sir, can we do something differently on quality? Our competitors are going through a lot of challenges in the glass quality because their raw materials have some impurities, and that is not normally visible, but that's a differentiable possibility. So you get sources of differentiation once you open that window. You tell the teams, look, I want you to come back and say, what is strategy after all? You just want to be different from everyone in the industry. You have to differentiate. Can you differentiate on quality? Can we differentiate on technology? Can we differentiate on distribution? Can we differentiate on talent?
Yeah.
Even for a startup, the question is, how different am I going to be in solving this problem compared to 10 other guys who are trying to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a way. Then the issue of structure is, do I want a structure? There are so many organizational types. Do I want a classical functional one, or do I want a cohesive business unit? I deal with the cohesive business unit. Do I want a circular organization, or do I want a formal hierarchical organization, or the number of layers that we want? So we debated a lot of that. We said that we want a classical functional organization, but we cannot have more than 4 layers between the CEO and the entry-level person. So we said that the maximum layers should be 4. And so it's simple.
Yeah.
And we said that we don't differentiate people from title. So the structure was that. On systems, we said that every one of them are classical organization run with the usual systems. Can we adopt early on systems? So we've always said that we must be ahead of the curve on systems compared to competitors. What do they do, and what can we do differently? Can we, if it takes, I'm just giving an example, if it takes for an order fulfillment for somebody else 24 hours, can I do it in 12 hours? Can I do it in 6 hours? Can I have the systems which have the capacity to be able to deliver that? So what is the investment that I have to do? So in terms of talent, what's the kind of talent?
And
all of this. So once you open this window, you guide people to think in these windows. Okay? What is the kind of style that we want in the organization? What is the culture? Do we want a very formal SR culture where everybody is, or you want a certain exploratory culture? There are choices. You can make it in whichever way you want. But I think that window opens people to say, we are like this, we are like this, we are like this, we have to be different. So that kind of becomes a way in which a company thinks.
And did you have 7 different windows open at the same time, or did you like prioritize?
It was 7 different windows simultaneously.
Oh, so it ran
Ran
simultaneously.
simultaneously, and the degree of importance was different. For instance, getting the strategy right was very important, which means getting the right technology. For instance, we knew India is rapidly evolving. Even 2000, we knew it is rapidly evolving. So I bring in a technology which is not modular and scalable, I'm dead, which is exactly what our competitors, including the multinationals, they were stuck with a technology which was very good for then.
Yeah.
But they were not anticipating the changes India
yeah,
will
the
need.
monolithic structure.
Yeah,
Of,
so therefore
yeah.
they did that. So that piece you have to think ahead, because that cannot be changed overnight.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
like for instance, you are now running a successful startup, and you can't say that I will wait simultaneously. I have to think AI first
Yeah.
as your mindset.
Yeah.
No, so that's super important. But the second one is structure also. From the beginning, you'll have to create the right structure. Do I want a functional structure? Do I want a free-flowing circular structure where everybody is playing the total football in the company, like what the Dutch taught, that there are no forward, backward, center, all of that. Everybody plays depending upon the situation. Now, those are things which you have to decide, and then systems can evolve. I mean, you have one system and you can slowly evolve. So I think windows are simultaneously open. Some will have long-term effect like strategy and structure, and some can be changed in a shorter time frame.
Yeah.
You work on all of that. And even when we do at a very small granular level, we introduce a change. Let's say that we are changing some HR performance management structure. We go through this whole 7S. We say that this change, how will it affect our strategy? Which part of the structure will it affect? What changes in the systems that we have to do? How do we train our people that if we have to implement this new performance management, what kind of skilling that we have to do? Do we need some new talent coming from outside? So it makes it easier for people to think. Otherwise, it's like, you know, science and engineering. So this opens up windows in a qualitative way.
Yeah, the visual of speaking through a very specific window.
Guides you and helps you to innovate and think very differently in that. Otherwise, you're too spaced out.
Yeah, the compartmentalization becomes super.
But you have to make sure that as a CEO and the CXO, the top leadership has to knit that together.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think a two-wheeler scooter maker can say that I want to get into the electric vehicles, like what TVS did. Ola came from outside, disrupted this whole market.
Yeah.
TVS realized that early on that this is going to be very important.
Yeah.
But they set up a completely different set of people with different incentive systems. So today they have 29% of the market, and Ola is at 13 or 14%, even though Ola is the disruptor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a very fascinating journey to observe, isn't it? How that whole thing.
I would say that I think you should talk to them, because this is a company where they have today 29% of the EV, and they are incumbents. They've been there for 42 years. They first introduced that in Suzuki in 1983 or 85, and they have adapted themselves to this new world, and they beat the disruptor.
Yeah, we should talk to them.
The disruptor is Ola.
I think,
Ola is today at 14 or 15%.
Yeah.
Whereas,
and going down.
Yeah, and you have 29% this, and you have Ather and Bajaj who have come back.
Yeah.
And Bajaj was actually was a slow starter, but it's catching up.
Yeah.
So there is a certain advantage that incumbents have. But if you apply the same lens of exploiting what you were successful in motorcycles or scooters, it won't work. Because you have to reimagine completely what a scooter which is EV very differently. Just like what Mahindras are doing or Tatas are trying to do successfully, which I think will take some time for Maruti Suzuki to do, because they've realized that I have to reimagine the EV and I have to do it very differently. And Mahindras also have done that, and I'm sure that they'll be successful in the coming years, because they said that I have to disrupt the disruptors. That's really what TVS did. It's not seen as that, but they've disrupted the disruptor. Ola had 30% market share.
Yeah.
It's down to 15. I'm sure that Ola will come
Catch
back
up,
and do
yeah.
something differently,
Yeah.
but that's fine. But that's the nature of competition.
Yeah. No, that going back again, the way of compartmentalizing the whole explore versus exploit is a very lovely way of thinking about it. It's almost foundational, gives you that window
Yeah.
of thinking about it. And the thing that you've talked about is shaping the ecosystem, Santhanam.
Yeah.
And I guess in that you also talk about win-win for multiple stakeholders,
Correct, yeah.
right? And in that there's a role that you say that there are many who play the shaper role, the hedger role, and the follower role.
Correct, yeah.
So first of all, viewing this as a shaping the ecosystem, and then the role holders can just
Correct, yeah. So this was we had done very successfully. We had done the initial survival, then we did very well with Blue Ocean and innovation.
Yeah.
We were looking around for what is the next stage, because we had to expand the usage of our products. And so that was the time when I accidentally picked up this fabulous article by shaping the world or something like that, shaping the industries, by I think it's from the Deloitte think tank.
Okay.
It's John Seeley Brown and Hagel.
Okay.
It was a Harvard Business article in 2008.
Yeah.
Now he talks about saying that successful companies are those who shape the ecosystem around them. And they talked about several absolutely fascinating examples of shaping. We don't realize it. The one that revolutionized the global trade, we have several things we say, but the one which revolutionized it was a container. The design of the container
Really
revolutionized the world. That is what made a non-standard way. And we would never have had this revolution of global trade if the container was not invented.
That rectangular container box,
And
whatever.
Yeah, the container was invented in the 1960s, and that guy decided to give the patent away, because he realized that it would never be successful to get the entire shipping industry to adopt unless you standardize. The standardized container design is made available to everybody. So he gave that. So he shaped the entire global trade thanks to that design.
Interesting.
And this is one of those shaping. And recently Tesla shaped the entire EV industry.
Yeah.
But it's the one who's exploiting that is the Chinese.
Yeah.
Because the Chinese have said, I'm not just going to design the car, I'm going to design the entire ecosystem under electrification, whether it's in mining, whether it's beneficiating those rare minerals, to making the battery ecosystem, to the software integration, to autonomy. Chinese have said that I'm going to have a completely integrated suite available, but the fundamental platform came from the innovating platform. So I would say that any large company is not big enough by itself to lift the whole world. It has to give, if it wants to play a very important role in shaping the entire ecosystem, you have to be able to give and expand the pie, and that's very important. So you create shaping platforms, but you have a certain view. So our view in 2010 was, India sustainability will be important. India regulations are going to come in terms of energy efficiency in buildings. There's going to be energy efficiency of factories and many other things. And then skills are a challenge everywhere at all levels, at the entry level or at the top level. Skills and competencies are a very big challenge for us. And we have to do all of that, we have to collaborate. That means we need collaborative platform. So we created these 4 platforms in 2010, and we let many of the tools that we use internally in the companies publicly available. It's exactly what Google did with Google practically invented everything on generative AI.
Yeah.
They gave the world the transformer architecture.
Yeah.
They could have kept the
Yeah.
transformer architecture as a private property of Google. They could have well done that in 2017. But they let the world
And
benefit.
look at the impact of
Look
that.
at the impact that is created. So you expand the pie, you may have a lower share of the pie, but you are the. In that, you have to decide whether you want to be the shaper. That means you have to say, I'm going to invest. I have this particular view of the world, like what we said, the world is looking for sustainability, the world has got shortage of skills, the world will be regulated, therefore let's take positions on that. And then what platforms we create for people to collaborate. It could be software platforms, or it could be hard platforms for them to come. So we participated extensively on green building movements, actively we use that. So I think what platforms you create, and then also what investments. If you are a shaper, people will say, what is he putting for this? No one is going to come and join your platform if you're not sharing,
Yeah.
or you're not investing in innovation.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, in Google, says, I've invented transformer architecture, I've given it to the world, but they are not continuously innovating. They're not coming up the next stage in reinforcement learning with human in the loop, or when they're not thinking about scaling up their architecture, when they're not thinking about looking at the TPUs versus GPUs. If they're not doing it, nobody's going to follow Google. They'll say that, look, you're not anymore a shaper.
Yeah.
So you have to decide where you want to be a shaper, where you want to hedge your bets. You're not big enough, you don't know which way the world is going to go. It's a good idea to be a hedger. But if you're a large enough company, you have to be a shaper of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I think shaper, hedger, follower are something which I think you have to look at it. Like any industry for that matter, you are in the industry of human resources and
Yeah.
talent management.
Yeah.
How do I create, are you big enough to shape?
Yeah.
If you're not, say which are all the hedging strategies that I have to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
If the whole human resources function is going to adopt wholesale AI,
Yeah.
how do I hedge my bets?
Yeah.
Which are the platforms that I
Yeah.
must use?
Yeah.
How do I build? And therefore, maybe can I move to a shaping situation, or I remain at a good hedger level, or I remain at a good follower where my cost and capabilities are very good.
So as a CEO, or maybe in this case, maybe at a conversation that may be happening at a level of board of a matured organization, you look at the maturity and capability and scale at which you're operating your various different
correct, yeah.
businesses, and you make a choice or a thoughtful decision that in these areas I can actually be a shaper and thereby
Correct, yeah.
expand the play itself.
Correct,
the-
absolutely.
Or in some cases, I consciously be a hedger.
Correct, because you are not large enough to make a difference.
Yeah.
And
you
you are
should be
not able to-
confused about.
You're not very sure as to which way the world is going.
Yeah.
Is world going to adopt AI fully?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be? We are not very clear. So you make sure that you are able to have, in some way, you hedge your bets. And so this is something which we have to play. And I'll give an example that one company that I'm associated with as an independent director, I think Titan, way back in 95, decided to come into jewelry. You go back 30 years ago, who would have thought that jewelry, where every small family, big family, large family had their own personal jeweler, that someone will buy from an organized jewelry company.
Yeah.
They organize the unorganized. They formalize the supremely informal company. Took 30 years.
And
Today-
look at
To look at Titan.
Yeah.
Last quarter,
Yeah.
Titan has grown by 46%.
yeah.
And it is
With
still
all
has
this
got-
disruption and everything,
all of that.
look at
Yeah,
Titan's
and then
growth.
also the fact that there is a huge play in US, Middle East for expansion. Because you really have organized the most informal, most personalized business into a brand, into retail, into affordable luxury for a large number of people.
Phenomenal
But it took 30
example.
years. We don't realize Titan was shaping the ecosystem on jewelry. Today I can say that. But Xerxes Desai, who thought of that,
Yeah.
he thought of that in 95, Bhaskar Bhatt,
Yeah.
C.K.
Bhaskar.
Venkat, and now
Yeah.
Ajoy.
Yeah.
I think they're driving this formalization process still.
Yeah.
And it is only 50% formal. There is still 50% informal. Just look at the headroom in a very
Opportunity.
traditional industry. Large industry, traditional still. So I think everywhere, whether it's really old industries, new industries, these ideas are helpful because it clarifies your mind. It brings clarity. It can confuse.
It
but
also
brings-
gives you the power to play the long game and the patience
Absolutely,
that is attached
absolutely.
to it. Isn't
so,
it like?
So I think we were lucky that we saw the sustainability as an important platform.
Yeah.
We saw energy efficiency.
Yeah.
We saw acoustic comfort. You're sitting here.
Yeah,
Just say, do you hear anything from outside?
the quality
you don't,
of
right?
decibels.
So your Vidhi who's here, just looking in from outside, she can't hear anything from outside.
Yeah.
She's just wondering, when she came in here, she was worried about
All the external noises.
External noise, how is it going to do? What is this that my boss has brought me into? He just doesn't know anything. She had all those doubts, right?
Yeah.
You had all those areas. But today, just look at it. We are insulated in great degree of comfort.
Yeah.
We are participating from outside. So I think we had that view that you can make this an extraordinarily interesting material for you. Bring in transparency, comfort, acoustic, energy efficiency, and at the same time make people expand their views and vistas. I think that is the kind of thing that made a difference. And today we have 70% market share in facades. And we know that insulation, this room is got insulation panels which prevent echo. You don't even notice it.
Yeah.
So what you see in the panels above and all around it, there are panels which absorb the noise and prevent the echo from happening. So I think if you realize acoustic comfort, insulation, thermal comfort, air conditioning comfort, visibility, letting outside in, if you view your business as that, then you start innovating very differently. Then if your business as producing at the lowest possible a large plane of a sheet of glass and distributing it and be efficient at every part of the chain, they are very important. But they're not going to help you shape the industry.
Yeah, no, I'll come back to it slightly later about the whole defining of the purpose statement. That's a fascinating piece as well. But allow me to move to one topic which I think would also be extremely crucial to know a little more, which is about succession. Let's say when a leader spends a long time at the helm of affairs, the organization culture is synonymous to what how the leader behaves over a long period of time. So it takes on that personality. In your case, how did you manage, or how did you look at the transition from yours to the next? And how does one start thinking about when is the right time to sort of slowly start stepping back and make that transition happen, succession? And as you elaborate on it, one other lens, we do a lot of work with family-owned businesses. And there I think the problem is succession has more layers to peel, right? The whole professional management layer versus the promoter ownership.
Correct,
How does one think about that?
Yeah, I think a company like Saint-Gobain Group has a very strong succession and career planning. That is who must succeed whom at some level.
Yeah.
I think you always say that XYZ's role.
Yeah.
There are 3 potential people. How do we prepare them?
Yeah.
And then you also do the career planning. What must be the best possible opportunity for this particular individual?
Yeah.
I think every organization, I think it's a fantastic practice, but you have to invest a week every year to see your top 100 people in the company, if it's a large enough company. If it's a small company, maybe 20, 30, to say what is the career for each and every individual, who can succeed whom in the short, medium, and long term.
You do it diligently every
We
single
do
year.
it. We do it in June, and I used to spend 2 weeks within various businesses.
Interesting.
And then we used to have a day-long discussion with our headquarters to clarify. And this is an exercise which every company must do. That I have these 100 positions and I have 100 individuals. What do these individuals want, and how can these positions be filled? So in my case, I would say that it was very clear that 2 years before I was to retire, it was very clear who is likely to succeed.
Interesting.
It's possible that it may not happen, but there's a very high probability who would succeed me. And it made things easier because there was a 1 to 2 year time frame in which we could prepare ourselves. And the second one is that in the last 2 years of my work, my whole mode changed. I stopped reviewing. That means I was not
Interesting.
reviewing the month or the day.
Oh,
or
you actually
I stopped.
withdrew from it.
I used to have the monthly meetings,
Yeah.
but the monthly meetings were on a particular agenda.
Yeah.
The BUs of the country will present a medium-term agenda
Yeah.
rather than what happened in the month.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did the sales do so well? Why did it do well? What happened to the bottom line? Where was the cost improvement taking place? Where did it not take place? I'd assumed that the BU heads and the managing directors of each and every business or country will be able to do that. I focused on cross-functional work, which was basically what are all the platforms that are common to several businesses and several countries that we have to build. So I focused on anything that was connected with growth, anything that was connected with mergers and acquisition, anything that was connected with digital transformation, anything that was connected with innovation. So I invested a lot of time in strengthening the bridge of growth, mergers and acquisition, innovation, talent development at the top teams, rather than on monthly, quarterly review. It was also, I was extremely fortunate to have extraordinarily talented team of managing directors and country heads who were doing exceedingly well this part of the job. So I think this particular layer is what I worked on. So it was what it did was it brought in a lot of, autonomy for the individuals.
Yeah.
The second one is Saint-Gobain simultaneously did an unbelievable thing. They said that we are going to free up the capex approvals at the national and the regional level. As a APAC and India country head, I had a very significantly large capex budget where I don't have to go and ask anyone else. Likewise, the managing directors and the country heads had a certain budget where they can do the capex. So today, for instance, even large companies in India, you have to go to the board for a capex approval. In Saint-Gobain, if you're subject to a certain fairly sizable limit, it was, for confidentiality sakes, I'm not revealing the limit, but it was sizable. It was 10x more than what we were allowed to do before, and you could invest in capex at various levels, and that gave tremendous amount of autonomy. So autonomy combined with the fact that these people are extremely talented, experts in their own country or businesses or doing very well, long incumbents in that, coupled with me investing time on growth, innovation, digital transformation, and talent management and mergers and acquisition, it proved to be a very good
And this is over a period of 2 years that you structurally...
More than 2 years. It was
Wow.
3 years. So what we used to do is the monthly meetings used to be the ones they present, were agenda driven.
Yeah.
What are they doing differently in supply chain? What are they doing differently in digital? What are they doing differently in new product development? And each BU built its own decision. Sometimes they don't even want to talk to me about month because sometimes the months are bad. And so if it was terrible, it used to come to me. It was terribly good, it used to come to me.
Yeah.
I think that worked very well.
Brilliant.
I think this is something you talked about founders. The founders should do that. That I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be investing only in things which are going to be future oriented.
Yeah.
Which is growth, innovation, digital
Yeah.
transformation,
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask about the questions on that. And then I'm going to look at, I'm going to ask what kind of structures, what kind of strategy that we have to adopt for those.
Yeah.
Are we doing enough of that? But the danger for long-term incumbents and CEO is you keep doing what you're good at. And that's a big potential problem.
Yeah.
Because you're very comfortable going into the factory and listening to the
Yeah.
noise of the machine and say,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
something is not
Yeah,
going
yeah,
well.
yeah.
But if you keep doing it, you're going to
Yeah.
atrophy the learning.
Yeah.
You're going to say, no, I've done successfully this. Now, what will expand the whole pie? I think that is what the founders have to focus on.
And that actually
Giving
sums up
that and focusing on the future. How do I shift giving? How do I give up? And how do I take in something completely different?
And that has been the struggle of, I think, many of the promoter owners who are super close to that business. They've built it up.
And I'm not saying
and
it's
can't
easy.
let go. Yeah.
And also, not only that, you think that you can do the job better. The more you think that you can do the job better, it's like your child which is doing algebra. Obviously, you can do the algebra better. So you keep doing the algebra for the child and do all the thing. The child is never going to learn algebra.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I think you have to give up. And the child will make mistakes. They'll probably get poor marks, but it'll learn.
Yeah.
So I think we are, quite often, we don't let our BU leaders go independently.
Yeah.
And I think that letting go
Is
and
the-
capturing the rainbow of the future
Yeah.
is what a founder has to do.